Good Erev Shabbos, Good Erev Rosh Chodesh. Parshas Tazria has within it the law of the Mitzorah, the leper. It's very difficult and abstruse, and even from our perspective, an abstract concept. We don't really have it today. And yet there is much to be gleaned from the law of the Mitzorah. Mitzorah is an individual, according to Chazal, who spoke Lashon Hara, and as a consequence is declared tameh, spiritually contaminated, ritually impure. One of the consequences that the Mitzorah must do is that badad yeshev. He has to live outside of the camp. He has to be alone, in seclusion. This is a worse kind of tumah, of spiritual impurity, than even an actual mace, a deceased corpse, which is in the hierarchy, in the pecking order of tumah. A corpse is the absolute worst. And a mitzorah, and a corpse is not brought out of the camp entirely, but a mitzorah is sent out of the camp entirely, out of the center of the camp, the Machane Leviyah, the Mikdash, the Mishkan, the Machane Leviyah, Machane Yisrael, sent entirely out of the camp. What is it? What is the significance of badad? The fact that a mitzorah must be sent and must dwell entirely out of the camp in order to accomplish the reconciliation and the healing process. The Ibn Ezra suggests that this is a perfect way for the person to fix his spiritual imperfections. He's given an opportunity, he or she is given an opportunity to reflect al roa ma'asehem, says the Ibn Ezra, on the intensity of the wrong which they have committed, the evil which they have committed. Lashon Hara is an evil. And therefore, says the Ibn Ezra, by going out of the camp, the person is not so much punished in as much as is given an opportunity to reflect. You know, in the olden days, when we would punish a kid or punish a student in school, we would say we're punishing them. We don't punish kids anymore. We give them a timeout. In school, we give them an opportunity to reflect upon their misdeeds, and that is indeed the notion of the Ibn Ezra regarding the Mitzorah. However, there's another view, and that is, if you take a look at Chazal, Chazal say that this is a perfect midah keneged midah, a perfect consequence, a perfect punishment that fits the crime. In that, the Mitzorah was a person who spoke Lashon Hara and caused divisions. He caused divisions and separation between husband and wife, speaking ill. He caused divisions and separation between neighbor to neighbor. He caused divisions within Klal Yisrael, separation of people to people, and therefore perfect midah keneged midah, the punishment perfectly fits the crime, and the Mitzorah is sent out of the camp. It is a punishment. He is separated, sent away, divided and cut off. Chazal, however, have yet another approach. The Gemara says that the Mitzorah, his tumah, his essence, his entire gestalt, if you will, is described as zohama, as filth, spiritual filth. And therefore, in order to make sure that he does not infect the rest of us with his spiritual contamination, with his spiritual filth, as evident, as encapsulated by the avera of Lashon Hara, which he did, speaking ill of others, this is a spiritual filth that cannot be tolerated. Now it's interesting, a deceased, a corpse, a dead body, the avi avos hatuma, the granddaddy of all spiritual contaminations, that doesn't have to be sent out of the camp. But a mitzorah who has spoken Lashon Hara, who is fully connected and ensconced within the spiritual filth of speaking ill of another, this cannot be tolerated. Has to be sent out of the camp in order that he shouldn't contaminate the rest of us. And this tells us something powerful about the Mitzorah, but it tells us something even more powerful, I believe, about the sin of Lashon Hara, of speaking ill. Cannot be tolerated. How interestingly it is that in actual reality, in social interactions, lashon hara is unfortunately quite tolerated. I'd like to conclude with one powerful idea. The Gemara says that a mitzora is grouped amongst the people that is chashuv kemes, that is considered dead. What is it about a mitzora that is chashuv kemes, that is considered dead? Seems to me that when the mitzora is sent out of the camp and is cut off from all of social society, when a person is disconnected from his neighbors, disconnected from human contact, disconnected from human interaction, chashuv kemes, such a person is dead. We are social beings. We need one another. We need one another not just for utilitarian purposes. We need one another in order to live. Psychological experiments have been done, cutting people off and from social interaction, putting them into social isolation, and seeing the horrific impacts it has on their minds, and the consequence of literally going crazy with not being given social interaction, physical touch, human speech. It has extraordinarily deleterious consequences on a human being. So yes, mitzora chashuv kemes. On one level, he's chashuv kemes because he is disconnected from humanity, and we cannot live without one another. I want to take that one step further. What does it mean we cannot live without one another? Rabbi Zalman Sorotzkin, one of the leading lights of the last generation, in his Sefer Oznayim LaTorah, Rabbi Zalman Sorotzkin, I would point out, was the Av Beis Din in Lutsk in Ukraine. He ultimately made his way to Eretz Yisrael and became a leading rabbinic figure in Eretz Yisrael, and ultimately died in Eretz Yisrael, where he was also a leading rabbinic figure. Says Rabbi Sorotzkin, when a person is sent, badad, is sent into isolation, sent out of the camp, there is a powerful, powerful message and learning that the mitzora is able to accomplish. After all, what did the mitzora do? The mitzora attempted to cause death and destruction to his neighbors. Whether it is just through speaking lashon hara, which Chazal say causes death to everyone who's involved. It causes death to the victim on one level, even if it's a minor thing, and certainly if it's a major thing, people can lose jobs, people can destroy marriages, people can destroy families. Real, death, if not the physical death, then death, death while being alive. And the other person that is impacted, who dies as a consequence, is the listener, and the speaker themselves die in a certain way. And the Gemara says what it means by that. But death is associated with lashon hara. It's a horrible, terrible thing. So why does a person want to do this? Why does a person want to cause such calamity to another human being? Rabbi Sorotzkin suggests that there is something in the psyche of the person which has a sense of jealousy or envy and feels, I don't need other people. I'm jealous of that person. They're in my way for one reason or another. I want to get rid of them. I don't like them. I don't like them, and I want to get rid of them. And this notion of not liking a person and feeling that they are meaningless to me and irrelevant to me can then be generalized to people, to society, to my family, to my community, to people that I don't like in general. And this can metastasize. So says Rabbi Sorotzkin, what do we do with the mitzora? The mitzora who thinks that he needs no one, that the world is there for me, for me, and anybody who stands in my way is getting in the way of my rightful ownership to what I believe I am due in society. My job, my parnasa, my family, my community, my house, whatever it is, fill in the my in that blank. And the person that I don't like, I feel I can gain nothing from it, is irrelevant to me. And if they were cut off the face of the earth, nothing would happen. Be irrelevant. Says Rabbi Sorotskin, we send this person into isolation. And now tell me, can you live without people? Even the person who you don't like. You'll be chalashing. You'll be dying to have a moment with that person who you can't stand. Because when we're in social isolation, in physical social isolation, we realize how much we need one another. We realize how much we need another. Mitzara chashuv kames. A mitzara is considered dead because without people, living in a world all by myself, sometimes as appealing as that might feel, at the end of the day, it is horrific. And therefore, says Rabbi Sorotsky, we send the person into isolation. I always delight in sharing that if we don't have a good knowledge of English literature, just pick up Rabbi Zalman Sorotskin's Aznayim LaTorah, and he'll edify us. How do you want to understand what the horrific consequences of social isolation? Says Rabbi Sorotskin, Anu motzim b'sefer Robinson Crusoe. Just read the story of Robinson Crusoe, and you will get a powerful, powerful understanding of what it means to be cut off from people, cut off from society, to be alone, and the terrible consequences of it. And if you didn't read the story, you can always in school you can always pick up Aznayim LaTorah and get a recap if you don't have the Cliff Notes or you don't want to read it in its entirety. Badad, when the Mitzora is alone, the Mitzora understands how much he needs other people. And this, I believe, is the grand message of the Mitzora. We need one another. We need one another. Even those of us who we feel we could do without. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a mission. Everyone in my life is there for me to either help or to learn from. And in that, the message of the Masorah ripples across the ages and can impact our lives even today. Good Shabbos.